Charlotte, one of the big news stories of the week, we didn't get to in headlines earlier this week, was the New York Knicks are suing the Toronto Raptors. Suing the Toronto Raptors because a former Knicks employee who had been hired by the Toronto Raptors allegedly stole reams of information, data, video, and took it with him to Toronto. And that's the basis of the Knicks basically saying that trade secrets were divulged. And this is a very kind of interesting case because rather than complain to the NBA and have the NBA kind of adjudicate, the Knicks decided to file an actual real-life lawsuit in actual real-life court.
I mean, are we surprised? It's the Knicks. I feel like the Knicks file lawsuits as often as they play basketball. I guess my question to you is they're claiming that this employee took information and Oppo research and scouting reports and all of these things. How different are those reports from organization to organization? Like, how much good could that do the Raptors? How much of that do the Raptors already not have?
So I'm glad you asked because this is the crux of the argument. Like, if which is what was stolen and is it materially valuable? This is the best way I can explain. The two things, and The Athletic did some great reporting on this. Fred Katz and Mike Vorkanoff of The Athletic did some incredible reporting on this. But the two specific things that seem to be mentioned prominently are the advanced scouting report of the Indiana Pacers and videos from a third-party website, proprietary software website known as Synergy. And those are two different things, and I'll get to each of them. So let me start with the scouting report. In the NBA, typically, when you're going to play a team, you have a scout that watches that team maybe 6 or 7 games before you actually play them. And that scout goes there and basically gets their play calls and their play signals. Gets an idea of, they like to run horns punch or whatever it is, right? And when they do that, they'll call this, that's the hand signal and all these different
horns punch.
I just made up one. Like,
it's really good. I like it.
Fist up twist, that's like it'll be like this, and then thumb up, thumb down. Like there's all different very generic play call signals in the NBA. Floppy is a very popular one. Yeah. Floppy side or whatever. So, but the point is, you've got these scouts, they're watching the other team. Now, you might say, how are they watching the other team? Well, they'll go see them on the road somewhere. So let's say, let's use the Pacers as an example. We're playing the Pacers 7, 8 games from now. So our advanced scout is going to go see Pacers Bucks. He's going to go to Milwaukee. Milwaukee credentials the scout and gives him a seat, usually close to the Pacers bench, so that he can hear and see the hand signals and the calls that the head coach of the Pacers, Rick Carlisle, is doing. That advanced scout then takes these play calls, sends them back to the team. That's where the video coordinator and an assistant coach who's been assigned this particular team will sit down and go through other videos of the Pacers and attach those play calls to the video examples of the plays. So that's the stuff that they then show the coaches, and then they whittle that down, and they show that to the team, and then they whittle that down, and then they show that to the team on game day. That's the general process.
This is all sanctioned. Like the Bucks are saying, go do your thing. Everybody knows this is happening.
Everybody knows. Your advanced scouts come to your arena. The advanced scouts come to your arena to watch the other team, the visiting team. That's the only thing. No one will ever credential an advanced scout. Hey, come sit next to our bench and get our calls. But they'll sit you everywhere else. Now, here's the crazy part. Because every one of these teams has a guy who's doing this, what these scouts will often do is say, hey, Charlotte, are you in Sacramento right now watching Kings Warriors? Like, yeah. Hey, can you get me the Warriors calls and I'll give you the Pacers calls because I know you guys play the Pacers coming up soon. And so this is, when I say this is like a easily transferable thing, it's not proprietary in any way. It's not like the way my advanced scout does it is so much better than the way they do it over there, over here. It is literally just who's doing the data entry, the legwork of sitting there, getting the calls, and from there, moving on. So when you say, hey, they got an advanced scouting report on the Pacers, an opponent scouting report, okay, so, like, you think there's, like, incredible details there about Tyrese Halliburton pick and rolls that only the Knicks have. No, this stuff is readily shared all around. So is it stealing or whatever? I mean, in theory, yes. But materially, what does it mean? It's like taking pennies out of the give a penny, take a penny. If I grab like 20 cents out of that, it's egregious, but materially, it doesn't change anything, right?
Well, it just seems to me a little bit like they're saying what you're saying people do organically, which is like, hey, you give me these scouting reports, I'll give you these scouting reports. But they're sort of saying that what this guy stole was sort of what everybody does already. Am I wrong in that? Or
yeah, I mean, again, maybe theirs has a little bit extra detail in the personnel portions. But again, these things they're not unique in any way, I guess is the way I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not duplicates of someone else's work, but they're not unique in any way. We always talk about in the NBA, there's no secrets. It's not like football where it's like, oh my God, they ran a spider twist banana and we didn't see it coming. Like, it's like we know exactly what play you're running. We know what call. We know who's going to get the ball. We know who's going to screen for him. The hard part isn't in knowing what the play is. The hard part is like stopping the guy who's doing it, right? I can give you the entire play calls for the Lakers. Like, you still got to stop LeBron. It's not like, oh, yeah, now I know it's so much easier to guard him.
So I guess I have two questions then. So what would the Knicks employee gain from giving this to the Raptors, and what do the Knicks hope to gain by suing them?
So Knicks employee is now working for the Raptors. He gave his notice in July, and he starts, in August to go work for the Raptors. Oftentimes, coaches, when they have new guys coming in, particularly guys who are video guys, whatever, they say, hey, can you get me every single such and such? Can you get me this information on this and that? And the idea is like the guy's going to sit there and cut the stuff, but that's just, the work has already been done. Why would I do that when I can just grab it and just start from there? And that brings me to the second part, Synergy. So Synergy is this software that, if not every team in the league has, damn near like 28 or 29 of them. It's a software site where you log in and they code every single play in every single NBA game. And they break it down in the most basic things. Post up, ISO, pick and roll ball handler, pick and roll man, cuts, spot up, maybe a couple more that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. And the idea here is that these very generic actions are things that people will often want to find out. I want to see every Tyrese Halliburton pick and roll. I want to see every Buddy Hield spot up action. And when you click on that, it gives you a playlist immediately within seconds of all the videos of every single one of these things that's been coded by Synergy. Again, everyone has access to it. So if you, Charlotte, ask me, hey, can you give me every Miles Turner post up? I'm not going to go pull 82 games of Indiana and watch them. Oh, he posted up again. I'm just going to go into Synergy and hit export and send you that file.
Right.
It's proprietary in the sense that it's a software subscription that the team subscribe to. But if everyone has a subscription, Charlotte, then who cares? Again, is it technically by letter of the law wrong? I'm not a lawyer, but I guess so. But materially, does this make a difference? It does not. It does not give anyone an advantage or a leg up or anything. And so all of this, to me, screams much ado about nothing.
Right. It seems just vindictive for the case of, for the sake of being vindictive, or like, you did something to us. And also, this guy left. Maybe it's based on some, I'm speculating here completely, but like some degree of resentment for being like, well, you left us, screw you, you took stuff with you. I don't know. Theoretically,
they could have stopped them from leaving. But again, the crazy thing is, every year, every offseason, there are employees in the NBA who switch teams. Every year, people are taking like, if I'm getting Synergy edits, it's literally it's nothing. It's something he could definitely have waited till he got to Toronto to download over there. It's just, all right, well, now that's 2 weeks or whatever of lead time that I don't have. As opposed to if I just download it here and send it to myself and then get started working on it. So it's so silly. And the thing I point to is every year, employees switch from team to team. Every year, people are doing this sort of stuff. We never hear any complaints about it because everyone understands it's not that big of a deal. Now, if he had taken the Knicks playbook, the Knicks personnel scouting reports, or the Knicks like scouting reports of collegiate prospects or international prospects, that's a different story. Now you're getting into, this is stuff that is proprietary and in-house. Or if the Knicks somehow, when scouting the Pacers, had some advanced metrics that they themselves measured. Meaning, I'll give you a very simple, silly example. When I worked for the Suns, we used to track every time the ball was in the paint. We call it paint touches. Whether it was in the paint because of a dribble penetration, whether it was in there because of a post-up, was in there because someone passed to someone who was cutting. Every time the ball was in the paint, we tracked it. And we tracked it from game to game, quarter to quarter, and we tracked our offense and our offensive efficiency. Basically, when the ball was in the paint, regardless of where the shot came from, it was a three-pointer, a mid-range shot, or a layup, and versus possessions where it wasn't in the paint. That's something that nobody's tracking on a league-wide basis. Teams are doing individually. So if you took that kind of information, then I get it. That is proprietary. That is in-house. That is material, right? But when you're talking about
But
stuff,
they didn't.
You talk about stuff that's readily available to everybody in the league, it's not that big of a deal.
So do you think that the lawsuit has any legs? Like, do you think that this is something that could actually succeed in court?
I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if the legal system will say, well, technically he did remove these files from a proprietary software that the Knicks are subscribed to and took them away from his employer. So yeah, you are guilty there. Maybe. I'm not a lawyer. I can't speak to that. But I know from the basketball side, it's not exactly this cardinal sin. It's not like, I'll give you a great example. In baseball, the cheatingest ass sport there was a scandal where one team hacked another team's database. And they had all their scouting reports. Like, that's egregious. That's like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Shout out to baseball. You guys cheat like no other sport on earth, right?
But shout out to the Astros trash cans.
Yeah. This is, I mean, I don't even know if I would complain to the league, to be honest with you. Maybe that's why I didn't complain to the league, because it's not that material of a breach.
Well, if there's one thing we can count on, it's the Knicks being litigious. But please still let me into Madison Square Garden.
You're such a suck-up, man. Like,
I'm just protecting myself and this show. I mean, I'm protecting your content.
I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. All I do is explain the news, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, but I'm.
Yeah, that was well said.
Thanks.
Great dismount.